coverage tonight, and something that's cool about that is that it kind of makes sense considering we are here at one of their more in tune tracks. So Jacob, we're here at Indy, and a lot different is to have these trucks here. Really a historic track for these trucks to be at that they don't actually get to go to very often, and with these long straightaways, with these trucks and the draft package that they have currently, this will be really fun to see these guys do battle for 80 laps tonight.
Yeah, how about it for this series? You go from Darlington last week, one of the most historic racetracks they got, and then we go to Indianapolis this week. So a couple of historic racetracks back to back, but the difference between them couldn't be more vast. You got the 2.5 mile track that Indianapolis is, super fast, and last week obviously Darlington, it was pretty much a one-lane racetrack up next to the wall, a lot of passing, and it was overall just a great race. So I look forward to what Indianapolis is going to bring. And it's going to be a lot more speed, so it should be exciting. And we got Jamie Walker, Tommy Ryan, a bunch of those guys getting ready to go after it.
Yeah, and Jamie Walker's had himself a really good season. He's bloomed later on in the season than he has typically, but it's been a really good bloom for him. 4 wins on the season now after last week's race, and we don't have a points graphics for you tonight, but I'll go through the points with you. You've got Jamie Walker, who's in first by over 70 points, and then you've got Justin Michael and Aaron Bennett. They're really close. They've got 1 point between them. Being teammates, I'm sure they're going to have a little fun battle. So we'll keep Justin Michael and Aaron Bennett in our watch tonight. You've got Scott Sibley in 4th, Bobby Terrell 5th, Michael Atkins Jr. 6th, and then Seth DeMerchant and Rich Jetty. They both are tied for the 7th position, with Scott Formosa in 9th, Christian Peters in 10th, Matt Mara is in 11th, and then Tim Matthews, he is in 12th. And that's important because he's only 25 points in front of Robert Gillenwater. And I don't think that we're going to get 25 drivers in tonight. Actually, it looks like we are, but Robert Gillenwater's got to make sure that he finishes over 25 positions in front of Tim Matthews tonight. And that's not easy to do here, especially at a track like this where being up front is pretty key.
Yeah, so we're going to keep an eye on that. And also, Jamie Walker, last week's winner, he's going to be pretty strong tonight in Indianapolis. So we'll watch out for him, and I'm looking forward to all the action and covering it alongside you.
And with about 40 seconds left of qualifying, basically what these guys are really going to be looking for in tonight's race is to keep the momentum and to keep their truck clean. This is a track where any damage on your machine will ruin your night because the way the draft is, how heavy these trucks are in general, and then the turning as well. I mean, it's all about momentum. You could say that at any super speedway as well, but this track in particular, it's in the corners as well, where you have to really make sure that your car is pitched in just the right angle every single lap for left-hand turns at this brick style track. And so as these drivers finish up qualifying, it has officially wrapped up, and Jamie Walker, he won last week, and he will go straight to the pole this week. He will get it with a 53.193. No one is even close to him on the qualifying grid this evening, so he will start from there. These guys start to grid up here on the front stretch. Tommy Ryan will start to his outside in 2nd, with Scott Formosa starting 3rd. Robert Gillenwater will start 4th, and then Kyle Major, he will start 5th in the number 25 machine.
Yeah, then you look back in 6th, that's where you're going to have Seth DeMerchant starting in 9th. Bobby Terrell's going to roll off in 7th. 8th, Scott Simley starting 9th. 9th's going to be Michael Priester. And then rounding out your top 10, a driver we were talking about a little bit earlier in the points battle, it's going to be Tim Matthews in the 54 truck.
Matt Morrow will start his campaign for a win tonight in the 11th position. Jeff Ryan starts 12th with Brandon Yoakum 13th, and John Wilco will start 14th. That is the remaining drivers who qualified or got their qualifying lap in. You've got Christian Peterson, he'll start 15th on the field. Randy Tessar will start 16th. Aaron Bennett will start 17th. Dwayne Dunn will start to his outside at 18th. Greg Mall, his chances to make it into the chase are basically over at this point, so he'll start 19th. 20th starts Michael Atkins Jr., Ralph Vandervorst. 21st, Rich Jetty. 22nd, and then the remaining drivers, 23rd, Michael Warren. 24th, Steve Herring, and James Nunn finishes out your 25 car field. And like we talked about earlier, once again, this is Indianapolis. and nothing could be more historic about this track. And we'll talk a little bit about it. It's 2.5 miles if for anybody who doesn't know about this track that much. Obviously it has 4 very distinct turns with about 9 and a quarter degrees of banking, and we're used to seeing action here at over 200 miles an hour, but we'll be right about 180, but the action could not be any more higher.
Yeah, and one noticeable difference for anybody who followed along with us last week. Last week was our throwback week. We had a bunch of drivers racing trucks, and they were styled after Cup cars, some even styled after former trucks in the Truck Series, and a lot of cool paint schemes. However, tonight, it couldn't be more different. For example, you got Jamie Walker now in the modern Mountain Dew paint scheme. That 88 looks very nice, rolling off from the pole position. So, I mean, I'm liking Walker. I'm liking Tommy Ryan in the 6. We're going to have to keep an eye on them. A lot of Chevrolets up front, also a pretty notable thing. And we're going to have to see how this whole race plays out. 80 laps scheduled for tonight, so it's going to be an exciting race, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, you note that about the Chevrolets. You know, it's funny because because of the fact that we do have primarily Chevrolets that run in this series, but there are a good number of Toyotas that run here, and well, your defending champion, it runs a Toyota, so we got a lot of Chevrolets up here in the front and in this league and the series in general. But if Scott Simley in that number 68 machine has anything to say about it, he'd say his Toyota Tundra's kicking some butt here, and I think he's going to try and get another win in the regular season before their playoffs start. So they're getting to turn number 3 here in just a moment. We got these 24, 25 drivers stacked up and ready to go.
Yep, Jamie Walker and Tommy Ryan on row 1. They're going to lead you down to the green flag. We still got another corner, like you mentioned. This track's very much shaped like a brick. Interestingly enough, called the Brickyard. 4 vastly different corners as they're just now making their way through turn 4. And we're going to see the pace car pull off the track and leave the field in the hands of Jamie Walker.
Jamie Walker comes out of turn number 4 behind the pace car, and he's going to look to make it 5 races in the regular season for wins. There's a lot of hungry drivers behind him that are going to want to do the same thing. Pace car down and away. We await the green flag for all these drivers. And there Jamie Walker goes. Green flag in the air. We are racing here at the Brickyard for 80 laps here tonight, 200 miles. Jamie Walker gets a great start, and the number 80 of Scott Formosa does as well. He's already under the 6 of Tommy Ryan, and they're side by side now for the 4th and 5th position.
Yeah, Scott Formosa actually slides up into the 3rd spot, so now you have the top 3 trucks single file. That's Jamie Walker, Tommy Ryan, and Formosa. Battle for 4th looks like it's going to be concluded with Seth the Merchant and the 57 truck moving into 4th. So now we got a pretty much single file line through our top 7 or 8 trucks as they head down into turn number 3.
And you saw Jamie Walker already pull down to the bottom a little bit to break the draft. That way no one gets an advantage on him. I don't think he's going to have to do it that much, at least at the beginning. I don't think we're going to see too many battle for position, just because the more these guys can stretch their legs, the more they can battle and not have to worry about anyone catching up to them. So right now, basically, your top 7 starting to split off just a little bit. Top 8 through Scott Formosa in there. And then you've got Bobby Terrell, who's already starting the 2nd group of drivers. Looks like Ralph Vandervoort started from the pit, so that's the driver coming on the inner loop right there. And so these drivers, yeah, they're single file, but they're playing it smart here in the early goings. It's very tough to get any speed here if you're going side by side, as it looks like Matt Morrow might be able to get a little bit of speed on Tim Matthews right now, but not the case. Look at Jamie Walker go down all the way down to the bottom of the track just to break that draft. He does do successfully as he's trying to get away from Tommy Ryan here, going to turn number 3.
Yeah, and I think Walker pulling down to the grass, so like you were talking about breaking the draft, it seems to actually been working pretty well for him. Every time he comes back up onto the track, he seems to be about a half-tenth quicker than the guy who is following suit, and that is the 6 of Tommy Ryan. However, the top, actually, I was going to say the top 10, looks like pretty much the whole field now, concluding lap number 2 here, all single file for our first 23 drivers, and Jamie Walker continues to show the way now. It looked like Formosa was getting a little closer up on the Tommy Ryan for 2nd, but kind of backs out of that as you see them exiting turn number 2 right up against the outside wall before they, turn number 1 rather, before they enter turn number 2. And Formosa now continues to follow suit in 3rd. There you see Jamie Walker breaking the draft down low again. Also got somebody peeking low further back. That's actually Seth the Merchant looking to make a pass for third on Scott Formosa. They're side by side into 3, and that won't really last too long. So move the Merchant up to 3rd, Formosa back to 4th, and Gillenwater rounds out your top 5.
Yeah, Formosa just let him have it right there. He knew that was not a good place to be in the outside lane. It's not as strategic in these trucks because of just the way they are turning. Being at the very bottom of this track is so key, and once you get a nose in on somebody on the straightaway, you might as well give that position up because you're going to be losing so much more speed. That second groove is not very strong, especially here at the beginning of a run. If you can arc it in, of course, by yourself, that's the best, but if you're stuck on the top, there's a no grip up there quite yet as compared to the inside of that, of those turns. So give the position to Seth Merchant, who's gone from 6th to 3rd. It's one of our biggest movers of the race so far. You have to give the next one to Aaron Bennett. He currently sits in the 16th position, 5 seconds already off the pace, so just about 1 second per lap at this rate. So he's got a lot of work ahead of him, and a lot of other drivers do throughout this field if they want to get back up to the front. But 5 seconds is a long time. And when you think about these guys haven't made any passes yet, well, not the 0 passes, but the passes have been very quick. Later on in this race, we're not going to see passes happen so quickly like we did between DeMerchant and the number 80 of Scott Formosa. These guys are going to fight for position, which is going to have them lose the driver in front of them and have everyone else behind them catch up and possibly make a mess out of things.
Yeah, and I think what you were talking about there with the passes, I mean, so early on in this 80-lap race, 80 laps may not seem like a whole bunch of laps, but when you're considering the big racetrack that Indianapolis is, it's actually going to be a pretty long race. So I think right now these guys are just kind of trying to settle in, not really push the issue too much or force anything, which is why when they get side by side most of the time, they're single file by the time they hit the corners, because a lot of these guys know the longer they run next to each other, the more time they're going to lose on the guy in front of them, and possibly the more positions they're going to lose because people from behind them are going to be able to catch them much easier. So a lot of these guys just kind of give away, not really forcing the issue too much, and trying to make it single file as long as they can without slowing themselves down to the point where they have to make a pass. But for right now, Jamie Walker's not had to worry about being double file at all. Nobody's challenged him for the top spot, and him and Tommy Ryan actually pulled away to a sizable gap over Seth the Merchant in 3rd, and then another gap back from 4th place to 5th place. So everybody's kind of spreading out, kind of seeing how their truck handles, and then I anticipate further on in the run we'll start to bunch them back up and start getting some more action going on.
Got a couple side-by-side battles here on the back straightaway. We got Michael Atkins Jr. and the 8 of Randy Yoakum going at it, and then you've got the 2 in front of them. Christian Peterson's on the inside of Matt Mara, and then Christian Peterson, he's going to get that position, and then the 2 behind them, they are able to sort themselves out in a similar fashion. Randy Yoakum has to give up that position as he was on the top side, and it's the same thing with Matt Mara. And I think the 2 in front of him, Michael Priester and Tim Matthews, they had the same thing. So with this going on, with the side-by-side battles going on, that is going to have them lose time, at least temporarily. Those guys getting past, they're going to have to think of something different to try and make up that speed. But right now, those drivers, Christian Peterson, Michael Atkins Jr., they're going places, and then looks like Tim Matthews is trying to get past Michael Priester. They started 9th and 10th. They're 9th and 10th right now, so they've been basically where they are right now this whole race, and they want to try and change that, but or at least Tim Matthews wants to change it. Michael Priester doesn't want to go backwards, of course, but those 2 were fighting side by side, and Priester had won that battle, but for now, they continue to go nose to tail throughout the field.
Yeah, and interesting, I want to focus on Michael Atkins Jr. just a little bit more here, because you were talking earlier about how Seth the Merchant was coming up through the field. Well, how about Michael Atkins Jr. started back there in 20th? He's already moved his way up to 13th. At this rate, that's 1 position per lap. So, I mean, if we're going to go by his logic, lap 20 should be by the time he's in the lead. But if he keeps that rate up, we're going to have to keep an eye on him. He does seem like he's got an extremely fast race truck, especially when you compare it to the people he's racing around right now. Next car in front of him is going to be Matt Marr in the 22, but Atkins up 7 spots since the start of the race. So I'm going to keep my eye on this 2 truck and see how much further he can keep climbing. Up front, Jamie Walker continues to show the way.
And right behind him, Seth the Merchant's going to get on the inside of Tommy Ryan. And this should be an easy position for him. He got the entire way down the front or down the back straightaway, and he passes Tommy Ryan for position. Tommy Ryan had started to slow down quite a bit, considerably over Jamie Walker, over a second. And as these guys get off of turn number 3, you can see that they both Tommy Ryan and Seth the Merchant, they both hit the right rear of their car on the outside wall, but they did not scrape it. They just barely tapped it enough to notice, because they had this a little bit of sparks flying. But that's how close these guys are getting on the walls, and as these tires start to get worn down, we'll have to really see how that handles later on in the runnings. But Tommy Ryan, right now, he looks like he's actually starting to catch the Merchant back up here, coming out of turn number 1 and into turn number 2, but we'll just have to see if he's able to get that run out of turn number 2 like Merchant got last time by, and Merchant's trying to break that draft. It's so strong right here, but here's the thing about Jamie Walker. He's so far away, and these guys will have to have some immense speed to catch his draft, but for now, Jamie Walker is in a great place.
Yeah, Walker's sitting pretty up front, and while we were talking about that battle for second, that was won by Seth the Merchant, Michael Atkins actually moved up another spot, so moved Atkins into 12th now.
Rising up through the ranks is that number 2 machine. He's been fast in some of the 1.5-mile ovals and at some of the short tracks too, but to see him fly through this field is definitely something I did not expect. Him going from 20th to 12th, as looks like Peterson in front of him is trying to get under Tim Matthews. Matthews just needs to finish not last in order to make the chase, so he's definitely in the spot to do it. Just needs to make sure he brings that truck home in one piece, and hopefully Robert Gillenwater does not win the race, although Gillenwater is in 4th place. If Gillenwater can at least lead a lap or so, he might be able to do something. But right now, Tim Matthews has Christian Peterson on the inside. I don't think he's going to give it up right now, as he's staying strong on the outside. Peterson goes to the bottom. 54 does concede. So that'll give Christian Peterson the position right there.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about that is Matthews fought a little bit harder than we see a lot of guys doing so on this race. He was hanging outside of Peterson there for a couple of laps almost, it felt like, and it started closing in that 2 truck of Michael Atkins, and I was curious to see how many laps it'll be until Michael Atkins actually catches Peterson or Tim Matthews in front of him. So I want to keep an eye on that, but for right now he's over a second back, and over a second back also is Seth the Merchant, because Jamie Walker is just picking up these laps and putting them down. We have 11 on the board and only, what, 70 left?
Oh, DeMerchant hit the wall right there coming out of turn number 2. So he's going to be quite considerably slower here, as Tommy Ryan's going to catch him. DeMerchant barely made contact with the outside wall. I don't think it's going to affect his speed, but that was something I mentioned pre-race, that if these guys touch the outside wall, they're going to have a big problem, because the aerodynamics is so important in this race. It basically ruins your race if you get any body damage on with this draft model. And with the way the aerodynamics works on these trucks, you basically lose about 5 to 10 horsepower. You don't actually lose it in the engine. You basically lose it in the speed that's with the cars having to push more against the resistance against the Sims logic on the wind. So you can see the difference right now. Here comes Ryan looking to go to the inside. Does not quite go quite yet. This 3-car tandem right here coming out of turn number 2 is looking very strong, but also getting very clumped together. Might see drivers like Robert Gillenwater or Kyle Major start getting the picture, as we got Scott Simley, who's getting passed by Bobby Terrell right now going into turn number 3 here.
Yeah, you got that battle going on outside the top 5, but inside the top 5, like you were saying, this 3-car group right here for Mosa and Seth the Merchant and Tommy Ryan are really running nose to tail, and I wouldn't be shocked to hear that these guys are putting up pretty much the same lap times too, because they have been right next to each other since the drop of the green flag. But the advantage so far, you got to give it to Seth the Merchant, starting 6th and moving up those 4 spots already, and now he's into 2nd. So the Merchant, we know, has a fast track. It's going to be a matter of can he catch Jamie Walker, and when that time comes. But then again, we only are on lap number 13 here, so we got a lot of racing left to sort through, and we also got pit stops in a matter of time, so a lot's going to change before it's all said and done, but Jamie Walker has checked out.
Yeah, we're going to see about 30 laps on fuel here, so that really picks up something pretty interesting. And also want to note that the number 3 and the number 8, Randy Oakham and Aaron Bennett, had actually made some contact with each other, so knowing that, with these guys and knowing the damage, you could basically say that Randy Yoakum's going to have a pretty rough night, because he's got some real heavy right front damage. And then I think Aaron Bennett, he got out of there pretty clean actually, but I think it still has affected his tires a little bit. Going into turn 1, they just did not agree on where each other was, I think, and they just got into contact. So Really unfortunate for those drivers, but nonetheless, the race continues to go on, and the lead between Jamie Walker and everyone else. I mean, he is absolutely putting blazing laps compared to everyone else. 56 seconds and 56.26 seconds over Seth DeMerchant's 56.3. Oh, by the way, he's got someone hounding him right behind him. That's Tommy Ryan, who looks to actually maybe be pushing him down the straightaway.
Yeah, with these long straightaways, that wouldn't surprise me to hear that we have some people pushing on each other because, I mean, if the opportunity's there, obviously you're going to be quicker down the straightaway. You're going to generate more speed, so why not? Especially when you got somebody like Walker who's already checked out over 2 seconds on you. So, yeah, I anticipate to see it on the back straightaway, not so much on the front straightaway. I think it's a little more riskier to do it on the exit of 4, you know, going down into turn 1. Also, the shadows actually play a bigger factor on this track than a lot of people would think of. Is going into turn 1, obviously, more shadows makes it a lot more darker to see exactly where your marks are going to be to hit into the corner. But for right now, it looks like everybody's been having a pretty smooth race.
Yeah, and we're riding along with Tommy Ryan, and right now he's a little too far away to push on the number 57, but right now Tommy had a really good push to the number 57, but gosh, I mean, even with that push, even with these guys possibly being able to help one another, Jamie Walker is the fastest driver on track by far. He's the only driver to do what he's doing. I think maybe Christian Peterson might be running faster laps, but it doesn't matter when you're that far behind. But hey, battle for seconds back on. DeMerchant gets into the outside wall just a little bit. Here comes Tommy Ryan back on the inside. He's going to get that position away from him. He's going to slide right in front. So Tommy Ryan and DeMerchant, they're going back and forth, which is probably putting a big grin on Jamie Walker here tonight, at least at this point in the game. But despite all of this, despite all the action we're seeing on the track, these guys do have to come down for pit stops, and there couldn't be more track more hard on you to make a mistake on pit road than this track right here, for as long as pit road is and for as hard as it's going to hit you if you do get a penalty on track.
Yeah, further back for about the 6th spot, it looks like you got Bobby Terrell, who's working on Gillenwater. Almost made a little bit of contact back there, but Gillenwater is going to lose yet again another spot in that Ford truck. So he was running well inside the top 5, but now the Ford truck's starting to slide back. He lost the position to the 25 truck, he lost the position to the 14 truck, and now it looks like the 68 truck's also going to try to make a pass on him, as we got a pit stop being made right here by Seth DeMerchant. He's bringing that 57 truck out.
This is a little early, I'd say, but at the same time, if you look at the damage on his machine, he's got some, it looks like some right side damage on his machine, and I think if I'm a betting man, he's going to get some of that fixed, and maybe not. It doesn't look like he's got any, maybe just a tiny bit of fender bender damage, but I say that might be enough to do that. But he's going to be stopped in his box, get some tires in that machine, but if he pits now, basically what he's doing is just trying to get away from all the action, and then he's going to try and run his own race. I think that's a smart idea, because now if the race goes green the whole way, he doesn't have to worry about anybody else pitting. He doesn't have to worry about anyone else being near him, messing him up. Only bad thing about this is now he's basically a full racetrack length down, at least right now. So interesting case right now for him, but we'll just have to see how it plays out. That's one of those fuel strategy things that you love to see happen, but you have to be patient. You have to wait for it to happen. And right now, looks like Randy Yoakum has disconnected from the server, so he deemed his damage to be too much, and he has retired for the night. So that puts us with 22 trucks on the lead lap.
Yeah, I was going to throw in there that Yoakum was on pit road for an extensive amount of time. He actually came in a couple laps, or maybe I think one lap before DeMerchant decided to bring it down onto pit road. But I agree with you there. I think it's a little too early to bring it down onto pit road just yet. But then again, the track position you gain with the fresh tires is we actually have a caution out on the racetrack.
Oh, big wreck on the back straightaway. Rich Jetty, Dwayne Dunn, and Matt Mara, they get collected in this one, and there could be more drivers involved. That looks like that happened between Matt Mara and Dwayne Dunn coming out of turn 2. Normally we'd have a replay, but tonight that's not going to be the case, but we'll give you a kind of a play-by-play of what exactly happened. Looks like Matt Mara had gotten a little tight and started to oversteer and just ran right into the left or to the right side of the 39 and looked into the outside wall, and then Rich Jetty had nowhere to go, tried to expect where right where it went. So at this time we're going to see I'm taking a couple looks at it. It looks like Rich Jetty is completely done.
Yeah, Rich Jetty, there's a lot of smoke pouring out of that number 93 truck as he's heading up the road right now.
All right, and so with this, that kind of takes everything I was talking about. That pit road early business is really going to bite the Merchant in the butt, but if he has damage, he'll be able to fix all of it and go back out there while these drivers stay behind the pace car. But what this does is this makes this basically close to a one-stop race. I think these guys will be able to make it 30 and 30 from here to the end of the race. So this is going to be really close to see if any drivers make a second pit stop on this cycle, or whether these guys do something different. So Jamie Walker will lead these drivers down pit road for the first time tonight under these circumstances. And so remember, pit road can really hurt you. So Jamie Walker has his 2.5 second lead completely erased here and is now determined on his performance down pit road. So all these drivers, they coming down for service. Looks like maybe one or two drivers stay out, maybe to get a bonus point here, which they would be able to get. And we're going to see all these drivers come down and get some service.
Yeah, Ralph Vanderhorst, actually one of the drivers who's still on the racetrack. He was a lap down. I believe he actually started the race from pit road, so he's going to be making his pit stop next time around, as you see Jamie Walker pulling into his box right now. Also want to throw out there that Seth the Merchant in the 57 truck was actually still on the lead lap, so I don't know if he decided to come down pit road or not. Yeah, he's actually still on the racetrack, so he's going to be our leader when we get set to restart here.
So with these guys coming out of pit road, you want to note that the one driver that's not going to be out there right now is the number 88 of Jamie Walker. We talked about this just before they're coming down pit road. You cannot make a mistake. Jamie Walker still is just now coming out of the turn 1 pit road exit. He's going to go from first probably back to around, well, he's going to be pretty far back there. Yeah, I think he spent around
outside top 10.
Yeah, he's outside the top 10. He spent over 9 seconds not in his box, so a huge deal here. And while we figure all that stuff out, we'll take a break here on LSRTV, do a little business, and we'll be right back here after a few messages and sponsors.
When I sat in the car, you always wonder, what's it going to feel like? It was my first time driving a mid-engine GT car. My thoughts were, wow, this is really good for our first time in a car. I was really surprised by it. You're sitting low, you got the A-pillars at steep angles, the windshields at steep angles, you can see the fender flares. I think we have a chance to win. Everything's got to go right, but I think we have a car that can win the race or be on the podium. But can you imagine how cool that would be to go back 50 years later to the year and do it?
Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as Seth the Merchant has now inherited the lead after a cycle of pit stops. We are only one more corner away from going back to green flag racing here on lap number 22 of 80. So we're 1/4 of the distance there. Once again, happy to have you along on LSRTV while we go back to green flag racing. Seth the Merchant and Tommy Ryan make up your front row. And there goes the Merchant right on the gas real early. The green flag is back in the air. We're back to racing at Indianapolis.
Yeah, the Merchant got on the gas pretty hard there. He's going to have a pretty sizable advantage when they hit turn 1. Right behind him, that's where you're going to see Tommy Ryan, who's under attack from Scott Formosa. Formosa's going to try to get up in there and battle along for the mix. He actually falls in line now in third. Fourth is going to be Bobby Terrell with the 14 truck. And then Kyle Manger in the 25 is going to round out your top 5. But like you were talking about with me under the brake, keep an eye on Jamie Walker in the 88. He made an extra pit stop. We're going to have to see if he can make his way to the field. Also keep an eye on 7th place Christian Peterson in the 23 as they're really stacking up as they enter turn 3.
Yeah, Michael Atkins Jr. is on the inside of the 23, and he's going to have to bow out of that one. We talked about him being a real strong contender in this race. Right now, he's going to have to back out of a fight between himself and Michael Atkins Jr., who looks really strong tonight, going from 20th to 10th. He's going to have a great run on the number 4 of Robert Gillenwater. They officially changed his name to Bob, but it's going to take me forever to call him Robert, or to call him Rob. There you go. So he's got the front nose on him there, going to turn number 1. That 12, well, that number 2 car is really fast, but Robert's not making it any easier on him as they're going to go down to turn number 2, and this will be surefire for Michael, I'd say, on the bottom of the racetrack. It's getting close between those two, but they'll be side by side. Number 4's going to have the advantage, and here comes Christian Peterson. Does he make it 3 wide? He has the option to, but I don't think he's going to do that this early in the races. We're still only on lap 20 or so. This number 2 will skip down to the bottom. And Robert Yellowwater's not giving up, but it's going to be a little bit harder on his tires here coming out of turn number 3.
Yeah, I'm really going to be watching this too, Michael Atkins, for the rest of the race. Now, I thought maybe earlier on when he was gaining positions like it was nothing, I thought maybe he just, was in a lesser crowd, as you see. It looks like the 4 Gillenwater actually got into the outside wall there in the exit turn 4. But now he's getting inside the top 10 and passing these guys like it's nothing still. And he's moved up into the 7th spot. So I think that 2 truck actually has a lot of speed. So I'm going to watch Michael Atkins Jr. and see what he does once he starts getting inside the top 5 as Michael Priester and company runs inside through turn 2.
Right here with the number 88 of Jamie Walker right behind Robert Gillenwater. Jamie Walker had to start deep in the field on this restart and is going to be in 10th place after this one. He's going to try and get 9th. Away from number 4 of Robert Gillenwater, who might lose 2 in a single lap here. Jamie Walker is fast, and I said during the break, I don't think he's going to be able to make up all that time on DeMerchant, but realistically, DeMerchant's not really losing anything either, so Jamie Walker gets all the way down to those curbs, and he's going to have to make up a lot of time. He had led every single lap up until that caution period and made that fatal mistake on pit road. That's cost him so many positions, picking them up pretty slowly. But look at the distance between him and Christian Peterson now, just from fighting the number 4 of Robert Gillenwater. Yeah, it's a long ways between those two drivers. looks like all the battles have kind of, looks like they've subsided for now. It doesn't mean they're over, but all the side-by-side battles looks like they stopped. It looks like Aaron Bennett might get the inside of Michael Warren. That's right. And so side-by-side battle in the back straightaway for the 13th position.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's not going to be long till we see Michael Atkins, Christian Peterson, and Jamie Walker inside the top 5. Those 3 trucks have been by far probably our quickest 3 of the night. Obviously, I want to throw in Seth the Merchant into that mix too, who's currently leading, who's actually been able to stretch his lead out to over a half second of the Tommy Ryan. But yeah, Jamie Walker, Christian Peterson, Michael Atkins, 7th and 9th. I don't think they're going to stay that way for too much longer here as we're completing lap number 26, and we're getting close to the halfway point before you know it.
I think we also talked about just a little bit ago was the fact that the Merchant might have to make an extra pit stop more than everyone else unless he saved a bunch during this last caution. So really something to think about with him as this race goes on. Christian Peterson on the back bumper, the number 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. That was close at coming in at turn number 2. Peterson goes straight down to the inside though when he gets that momentum, and so he's going to be right there on the inside and try and get that position away from the 2. Side by side, they go into turn number 3, but the 2 is going to give it up fairly quickly, so he can get a good amount of momentum out of turn number 3 and make sure Jamie Walker doesn't take it, but he's going to go down to the bottom. There goes Walker down to the very bottom of the track. Very spirited move to the bottom, and he's going to be able to get that position. So Michael Atkins Jr. loses 2 positions just like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the first time tonight he's actually got it past, right? He's done most of the passing for the first part of the race, but I guess the tables have flipped now as he's fallen back to 9th and moved Walker and Peterson in 7th and 8th. But one person we haven't talked about at all tonight, I feel like, is Michael Priester, who's running in 6th, and he's trying to make his way into the top 5. Obviously, he's got Kyle Manger right in front of him. And we're going to keep an eye on the 64 truck, because out of nowhere, he's been running pretty strong tonight in the 64. But the Merchant continues to lead, but that gap is kind of shrinking because Tommy Ryan's getting up to his back bumper as they head through turn number 3. I feel like in a matter of a couple laps here, we're going to have a 2-car race for the lead between the Merchant and Ryan.
And with him pitting earlier than everyone else, pitting during green flag, during green flag conditions, he still ran some time on those tires, just a few corners to be precise. And even those few corners at a track like this is going to mean so much with this tire model. So, yeah, he's going to be in the lead, and it's going to probably still be difficult to pass him, but it's going to be easier to get the job done as Tommy Ryan with fresher tires by just about a few corners. Plus, they're not as hot as the Merchants were under the caution period by a large margin. That's not something that you can really manage. So Tommy Ryan's going to try and have to look for that momentum to get around the Merchant, but the Merchant's going to have to try and figure out a way to not get be too slow in these corners, because Ryan's going to be faster naturally in these corners just because he's got more grip on the tire. So still just kind of flirting with a little bit of passing mode. The Merchant gets a little loose off of turn number 3, going to turn number 4, and on the exit we'll see how much momentum he has. But here comes number 80 of Scott Formosa, been in 3rd basically all day, just like Tommy Ryan's been in 2nd all day.
Well, one thing I want to note is even one of these trucks going down these long straightaways, these guys punch a huge hole in the air. So imagine when you got 2 of those trucks lined up right behind each other, and that's exactly what happened to the 80 of Scott Formosa. He had the 57 of the Merchant, the 6 of Ryan, just lined up, punching a huge hole in the air, and that allowed him to catch right up to these 2 trucks like it was nothing for him. So now you got a 3-truck train onto the back straightaway, and watch how these guys are going to be able to suck up to Seth the Merchant with just a huge draft created from the 57 truck. And now you're even starting to see the 14 back there in 4th. Bobby Terrell's starting to close up just a little bit. So before you know it, we're going to have a single file freight train, almost like it's going to look like a Talladega or Daytona single file line as they enter turn number 4. And on the exit onto the front straightaway, the Merchant's going to hold on to the lead. But how many more laps can Tommy Ryan will ride right behind him in 2nd place?
You know, I think Scott Formosa actually has the fastest truck out of these 3 right now, just because he keeps breaking the draft on purpose, so he's not that close to them going into the corner. It's a smart idea, because each time you see him go in the corner, he just backs off every time because he's going too fast. He doesn't want to get into Tommy. Oh, wow, huge wiggle from Tommy, and he's going to be way out of the groove here coming into turn number 2. Scott Formosa's going to have an opportunity to take advantage of that, but not right now, not the momentum he was looking for out of turn number 2, and so that's going to leave Merchant a little bit of space, a little bit of breathing room for a little bit. But I don't know what happened to Tommy, whether he missed his entry point, but he really had something wrong there. And here comes Formosa right on the back deck lid, And it is so close between those two. He's not leaving any room for error on the number 6 machine, and really wants him to get back up to the 57, have them fight side by side, and then he gets to kind of clean up after they fight side by side, maybe try and see if he can get the momentum here this lap. And so while we take a break from those top three, kind of looking throughout the field, and really we don't need to because everyone's pretty spaced out between them and the rest of the field.
Yeah, and I think that last lap, what it was Ryan getting so close to Seth the Merchant, he thought he was on the back bumper or getting to the outside wall, so he just kind of wiggled his way out of it. And now as they exit turn number 2 this time, no wiggle this time for Ryan. He's going to go ahead and fall in line and run pretty much right in the draft from the 57 of the Merchant. And like I said, those 3 trucks now running up front, creating that hole, allowed the 14 of Bobby Terrell to suck right up to them. Unfortunately for Kyle Maynard, he's a little bit too far back from those front 4 to take advantage of it. So now you got a 4-truck lane going down into turn number 4, and Seth the Merchant, obviously the beneficiary of that, running in first. But I want to see when they go through turns 1 and 2, you see the 6 truck of Tommy Ryan's able to just close up so much on Seth the Merchant. And I think he's got a much quicker truck on that end of the racetrack. As you see, the Merchant kind of gets a good gap going down at the turn 1, but this little short shoot between 1 and 2 is where Ryan seemed to gain so much time on Seth the Merchant. However, it's starting to look like the 57 truck is spacing out a little bit. Caution.
Yeah, caution on the speedway. Not sure who that is for, but it might possibly be for the number 10 of Jeff Ryan. I have to take a couple looks here. It doesn't look like he even went fully around, but he got tagged, went about 70 degrees sideways, and came back and saved it. But it looks like that's going to bring out the caution here for this one. And yeah, it looks like number 10 of Jeff Ryan, he looks like he got a decent amount of back end damage anyways as it was, but him getting just a little sideways. I don't remember who. I think it was Ralph Van der Vorst who got contact with him. Yeah, the number 66 got into him going into the corner and just sent him, just gave him a little bit here. So I'm going to take a look and see what these drivers are at on track. Looks like they're going into the turn number 2 actually to pick out the pace car.
Yeah, and now this creates an interesting situation in terms of fuel strategy because I think we agreed that 30, 35 maybe laps was our fuel window, and they're not going to be able to make it the rest of the way to stop right now. So it brings up the question if it's worth pitting right now for tires here at Indianapolis. I don't know if that is the case though. So I anticipate to see a couple trucks stay out because regardless, even if they pit right now, they'll still have to make one more stop before the end of the race. However, this kind of is going to benefit Seth the Merchant. He's going to get a chance to catch his breath and decide whether or not he wants to come down pit road and get fresh tires.
This is a big win for Seth the Merchant because I had a feeling it was only a matter of time before these guys really started giving up on giving him room, giving him some space, and started to really take advantage of that. So this is going to give the Merchant and the rest of the drivers the opportunity to come down and get tires, fuel, whatever they need, and see if they can make it on one stop. I believe only one more stop with the limited fuel cell that these guys have. As you're seeing the Merchant shade the bottom, and looks like just about everyone is going to come down pit road, single file down on the long pit road, and everyone's trying to get the little bit of advantage as they can coming in just to hit that cone. And so at a steady 60 miles an hour is where these guys have to sit. So looking at them go down the long straightaway again, looks like Rich Jetty is going to go by the pace car, but he's already 9 laps down, so it's not a big deal. So Seth the Merchant lays these guys down. Remember, these guys have to really watch out for pit road issues this time around, as I think the Merchant rolls through his box a little bit, so he's going to back up.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I really would have thought we would have saw a couple trucks stay out. Tommy Ryan again missing his pit box, it looks like. Or sorry, Tommy Ryan for the first time missing his pit box in the 6th. But yeah, I would have thought we would have saw some guys stay out onto the racetrack just to gain some track positions. We're going to have a huge shakeup on the exit of pit road. Our leader is going to actually be Scott Formosa in the number 80. He's able to get off of pit road first. A couple guys missed their box, Seth the Merchant being one of them. So was Tommy Ryan, and it looked like Peterson coming out 2nd now. Jamie Walker coming out 3rd. But yeah, I thought these guys would have stayed on the racetrack because everybody still has one more pit stop left to go. And if you stay out and then catch a caution, you gain so much track position.
So with that, that gives us a new leader. Once he crosses the start-finish line, it'll be official. So Before that, we will take a quick moment, take a break, and we'll step aside. And when we come back, we'll go through your midway race break presented by iRacing here on LSRTV, your home for sim racing at Indianapolis.
Get ready, going green. Green, green, green!
So hey, this is the new iRacing scanner, right?
Yep, this is our new scanner.
Wow. And this scans all your tracks and will scan everything else around it as well?
Yeah, you can even scan yourself with it.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, don't tell Tony that I asked, but how do you turn it on?
You just hit this button, scan right here.
Cool. And then that's just going to move around?
Yep, it'll just do a rotation, scan away.
Oh, wow, that's cool. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
real cool.
Hey Kevin, can you come to the office for a minute?
Yeah,
to show you
right
something.
there.
Welcome back to Indianapolis, Illinois, as we are at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway here, coming out of turn number 4 after Indiana. I'm sorry, not that was not correct in any sort of way. So coming out of
Race
turn
plot
number
producer
4,
injunction. Will Vincent's gonna kill him.
So coming out of turn number 4, Scott Formosa will lead the field, and he has the green flag, and he is gone off and away. First time leading tonight on the front straightaway. Scott Formosa will have a good lead in front of these guys. Christian Peterson looks to have a good hold on second. Jamie Walker is now going to slide into third with Bobby Terrell fourth, and fifth is Tommy Ryan after the cycle of stops. Here comes a huge charge for the lead. Christian Peterson to the very bottom of the track. He goes all the way to the bottom underneath Scott Formosa. Had so much more momentum. And now, what do we see here from the 88? Is he going to go to the bottom? He goes to the middle. He's going to bump the 23 there, right on the back straightaway. Wow, that was crazy action right there, and the 23 is going to stay on the bottom, and here comes Jamie Walker. With those two going side by side, he may have an opportunity to make it 3 wide. Here coming into turn number 1, still side by side for the lead. Christian Peterson has the bottom. He's going to have to check up just a little bit, but here comes Jamie Walker. Nowhere to go unless he wants to go 3 wide, and that's not going to happen quite yet. Jamie's going to give him a push going down the front straightaway, and so still side by side for your lead.
Yeah, how about credit to Formosa in the 80 truck? He's hung on outside longer than anybody else has tonight that we've seen, but I think you were right. You said it a little bit earlier on. These guys aren't going to give up the positions as easy as they were later on in the race. And look at that. Formosa's able to clear Peterson to move Formosa into the top spot all by himself in that number 80 truck. So he's going to hang it down low, break the draft of Peterson. Jamie Walker on the back bumper of him. And for the first time tonight, we saw Formosa grab the lead, and he's hung on to it ever since then. So pretty good night so far for Formosa in the 80. He's going to be able to hang on to the lead from Christian Peterson and Jamie Walker, who are breathing down his neck as they enter turn number 4.
Anytime you have the number 23 of Christian Peterson behind you, and I can tell you this from personal experience too, it's kind of frightening because of how good he is in any car that he's in at any track. And so him being in second right now, you kind of wonder what move is going to be made, and he made that move fairly early on the 80, more earlier than I was going to expect, and it might come again here in turn number 2, but that does not happen. Peterson's going to have to hold his cards, but he's going to get a big amount of momentum coming out of turn number 2. Here he goes down to the bottom side, and this is going to be a lot of more momentum than he had last time around. So 23 on the bottom, 80 on the top. Jamie Walker is trying to figure out what to do here, as he's also going to go on the inside of the 80th. Scott Formosa, they're going to make contact. He's going to go to the outside wall. Caution is out. Hard contact. No, but oh, one driver hits him. Oh no, that is not good for. Oh, and more contact in front of him. The 66 of Ralph van der Vorst comes into contact with a few drivers, and so that will bring out our first caution for that kind of action there in turn number 3, third of the night. But wow, that escalated much quicker than I thought. And taking a second look at it, we won't be able to do that for you on the screen, I do not believe, but I think Jamie Walker may have missed the entrance. I think he's going up too high, and 80 was coming down, still gave the 88 a lot of room, but I think Jamie just started turning a little too late, and that was it for Scott Formosa.
What a tough break for Scott Formosa in the 80 truck there. You saw him going into the corner there with the 88 of Jamie Walker coming down low, and just contact made between the two, and the 80 of Formosa goes sliding up into the outside wall and actually gets hit. And I think we got to look at the replay here too.
Yeah, a lot of drivers involved, as you're seeing exactly what just transpired, and Robert Gillenwater did an amazing job of getting through there. But sadly, drivers behind could not be, were not so fortunate. Steve Herring, Scott Formosa, of course, Ralph van der Vorst, they are involved. I think a couple other drivers as well were involved in this accident. Oh, wow, yeah, the number 10 of Tommy Ryan, or Jeff Ryan, just absolutely just barreled into the 66 of Ralph van der Vorst after it was all over. And those were the drivers involved in this one.
Yeah, really, most importantly, you feel bad for Scott Formosa in the 80, because we were talking about earlier on in the race, we said, oh, he's been in third the whole night, Scott Formosa in the 80, and then all of a sudden he got into the lead and he was looking strong. I thought he was holding off Peterson quite well, and then next thing you know, he's into the turn 3 wall with courtesy from Jamie Walker, and looks like he's actually retired from this event. So tough break for the 80 of Scott Formosa, but we got pit stops coming down on the pit road right now.
One good thing about for Scott Formosa is that he is locked into the chase at this point, as we are seeing pit stops. Kyle Major does not make it into his box cleanly. He had to back up and readjust into his box, and I think the 14 of Bobby Terrell is going to have a good stop here. And he's going to be the first one off pit road, followed by Seth the Merchant, Christian Peterson, Tim Matthews, and I think once again we are going to see a bad pit stop from the 88 of Jamie Walker. And I think he's getting repairs for the issue from earlier, or he's going to stay in his pit box. Either way, he's going to be very far back, and he's going to have to do the climb back up again. So a lot of problems here for a lot of drivers, and we're going to see multiple drivers come down pit road for service. Steve Herring, he'd had a lot of smoke coming out of the back of his trucks, but I do believe he won't be able to come back and return in the same manner. So Randy Tessar, he's in first place right now as he crossed the start-finish line, got himself a lap lead, but I do not believe he's going to stay out there, and so that is probably going to give, or actually it will give the lead back into the hands of Bobby Terrell. So this race has seen a lot of laters, and this will be the first time I think we've seen 2 tires. Yes, the 14 took 2 tires, so that's the first time we've seen that tonight as well.
Well, actually, we are saying that Randy Tesser is coming down pit road, we assume, but honestly, well, never mind. I'm not even going to finish what I was going to say because it looks like he's coming down pit road. I was thinking maybe he was going to stay out because I think he got another pit stop left under green here.
So, for caution here, just after the halfway point, I'd say it's a pretty good opportunity to go through your midway race break presented by iRacing. iRacing is the leading online simulation, and it's been developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, World of Outlaws, BRC, Global Rallycross, Red Bull, and many, many more. So as we start to look top to bottom of where your drivers are, Bobby Terrell is starting to lead his first laps tonight. And behind him is going to be Seth the Merchant, followed by teammate Christian Peterson with Tim Matthews in the 4th position. Tommy Ryan will follow suit in 5th. Michael Priester 6th. Michael Atkins in 7th. Michael Atkins Jr. 7th. Kyle Major will sit 8th at the moment. Robert Gillenwater 9th. And Greg Mall will finish out the top 10.
Yes, we're going to have to keep an eye on Bobby Terrell in the 14th, see how it works out for him with the 2 tires. Seth the Merchant, Christian Peterson. How about the 2P Money Design trucks running 2nd and 3rd? I think this is the first time they've actually been nose to tail on each other. And then Tim Matthews in 4th. We were talking about him at the beginning of the broadcast tonight with his point situation. Looks like he's put pretty much an end to that, as he's moved up inside the top 5 now in the 54 truck, and haven't talked about him ever since then. He kind of was miring back around the 10th position, but a nice sight to see Tim Matthews up inside the top 5. Also, Tommy Ryan running 5th, so a lot of new and former faces up inside the top 5 returning to the front of the field, as I think we're going to get the 1 to go signal this time around. Bobby Terrell will be your leader.
And then being in the 11th position is going to be Randy Tessar. 12th, Aaron Bennett. 13th place right now is Scott Simley, Matt Mora 14th, Dwayne Dunn 15th, Michael Warren finds himself in 16th, John Wilco 17th, 18th right now is Jamie Walker with Jeff Ryan in 19th, and then this begins the list of drivers 1 or more laps down. Jeff Ryan, or Ralph Vander Voort, Jeff Ryan, Scott Formosa now 21st, and yeah, bad night, was really good up until then, and then you've got Steve Herring, Rich Jetty, and Randy Yoakum finishing out your 24 car field tonight. So that's been a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. And thanks to our friends at Red Bull Global Rallycross, you can now visit iRacing.com/membership and use the code PR-GRC for an opportunity to start your career on iRacing with 3 months for only $5. That's, again, promo code PR-GRC, and that's for new members only. So, want to know what all the iRacing hype is about? You can go to iRacing to do that, and $5 is nothing to sneeze at for tons of tracks, tons of cars, and they're making more stuff free nowadays. I wish I had that much whenever I first signed up, but not was the case. And one of these tracks that we're at here tonight is one of those featured tracks, one of those featured trucks that you will see in the sim, of course, and Bobby Terrell leads these guys here coming through turns 3 and 4. This will be the second time we've seen a driver that has not led any laps lead for the first time on a restart. Last time it was not so good for that driver. That was the number 80 of Scott Formosa. So Bobby Terrell, he will lead. Actually, I guess Seth the Merchant was another driver, and he He was all right, but the last time we saw it was not so much. So pace car is going to go down and away down pit road. And Bobby Terrell, he will lead these guys to the green flag. There he goes, off and away. Green flag, back in the air.
Yeah, Bobby Terrell on the gas hard. He's going to jump out to a huge advantage over Seth the Merchant. However, we saw in the latest restart, the outside lane actually fared pretty well. So we're going to have to see how the Merchant handles himself on the outside as he tucks in line in second. And now Peterson moves to the third. Battle for fourth looks like going to be won by Tommy Ryan. Side by side for fifth with Tim Matthews and also the 25 of Kyle Manger. As they exit turn 2, though, the Merchant's going to have a good run down the back straightaway, and he's got help from Christian Peterson. How about that? Pushing each other, the two P-Money design trucks as they enter turn number 3.
Well, that does not surprise me at all in the slightest as these drivers come through turns 3 and 4. Battle right in front of right behind Michael Atkins Jr. is going to be for the 6th, 7th place, just inside the top 10 now, actually. Aaron Bennett, he has not been in the top 10 all day tonight. That could change here this coming lap as he and teammate Greg Mall are fighting side by side right now. And looking back up through the field, looks like actually Greg Mall is going to drop down. And oh, here comes Scott Simley up back to bargain as well. He is in the 12th position right now and trying to get some momentum back from starting a little bit farther in the field this time by. So this little pack of drivers inside the top 10, they're doing well, but you're going to get single filed out. But start looking at the front. The Merchant's got a lot of momentum here coming before turn number 3. He's going to show the nose, comes right back down behind, so he's going to follow him going into turn number 3.
Yeah, it seems like the further on this race we get, the more and more we're seeing these guys get closer race-wise with each other, because now we got a lot of trucks battling for the lead, and it looked like the Merchant was going to make a pass down low on Bobby Terrell, decided better of it, and kind of backed out, lost a lot of momentum. So now that brings up the 23 of Peterson, and also the 6th of Tommy Ryan, who's running 4th. So keep an eye out on him, and also look back, Kyle Manger in 5th, and then Michael Atkins, the guy who we were raving about earlier on in the race, kind of started to fall back, and then now he's making his way back up towards the front. He's running 6th in the truck, and we know that truck definitely has the speed, so we're going to keep an eye on him. But how about this? On the exit of turn number 2, Bobby Terrell in the 14 truck continues to lead.
He got himself a pretty big lead right there between himself and Seth the Merchant. So the Merchant and Peterson going to have to settle for 2nd and 3rd, at least at the moment. And so things start to quiet down for those drivers, and not so much for the drivers outside the top 10, and those trying to fight for a top 10 position. Michael Priester in 9th that last time by, and then Scott Simley trying to get right by him, and look behind him. Number 88 of Jamie Walker once again trying to re-enter the top 10 as he's done already once tonight. It's just over halfway between him doing it, so getting to turn number 1, he's going to basically complete the pass over the number 64 of Michael Priester. Priester's going to try and hang on, but the number 88 is on a rock and roll train right now, but he's got a lot of work to do. 2 seconds behind the leader, and those leaders are going at it, it looks like, right now. The Merchant's trying to go back to the bottom side.
Yeah, the problem for the Merchant has been carrying the speed down into turn 3. He seems to be good on the short shoot between the corners, which generates him for a long run down the straightaways. Look at this. This time he's tucked all up on the back bumper of Bobby Terrell, practically almost pushing him down into turn 4. He's got a better line for the center of the corner. I'm going to have to see if this pays off for him on the long run. It's not going to. Bobby Terrell's actually going to have a lot of momentum down the front straightaway. So every time they start to exit these turn 2 and turn 4 parts of the racetrack, Terrell's been able to generate a lot of momentum and jump out in front as they enter turn number 1 right now. Let's see the Merchant if he's able to actually make a pass when they exit turn 2, because he's been riding right behind Bobby Terrell and looking like he's just waiting to rant on a mistake that Bobby Terrell makes, but it hasn't came yet. This time on the exit of the back straightaway, a little bit of a wiggle, and looks like they're actually just going to fall in line right behind each other, so no moves being made from the top spot just yet. However, we got a pack of about 8 trucks barreling down into turn 3 for the lead.
And the Merchant's getting really close to the bumper of the 14, and what Terrell's doing, he's doing a very good job of not leaving enough room for him to take advantage, but not leaving too much, or not going too high to lose the momentum, because what the strategy right now is the fact that he's basically making the Merchant close in those corners, but it's still having such a good trajectory out of the corners. So it's really fun to watch Terrell do this right now, manage the draft that's coming behind him inside and outside of these corners. And watching him go through turn number 2 right here is I think it's his weakest corner right here, but turn number 4 is one of his strongest ones. We'll just have to see how he's able to manage these. DeMerchant's right there, getting the draft still. He's basically a mile an hour faster than him going down the speedway, or down the straightaway, I should say, just in the draft alone. So if he gets just a little bit better than him off the corner and gets the momentum from the draft, could prove useful for him.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how it works now from turn 4, because now you've got Christian Peterson in 23 on his back bumper, so it's really starting to get tight up towards the front of the field. But another thing I want to note here, when they cross the stripe, is it looks like Peterson and DeMerchant kind of branching out towards the bottom of the track. Now you got 30 laps left, so you're within the window of our final pit stop of the day. So these guys only have to come down pit road one more time, and then they're set for the rest of the race. So I wonder if we're going to see anybody come down early. Look at the 6 of Tommy Ryan get into the outside wall, and that truck got really squirrely through the short chute right there, but set the Merchant all over the back bumper of Bobby Terrell, like it's pretty much been for the last 5 laps or so. Just hasn't been able to make the move quite yet. Bobby Terrell continues to lead.
And those teammates are not acting like teammates for as close as they've been the last couple laps. DeMerchant went up and down and back up the track and basically almost put his teammate in the wall right there. And I think that was probably one of the first times I've ever seen Peterson actually lift, knowing what his teammate's going to do, but still lifting anyways just because of how close it is. Looks like DeMerchant's getting awfully close to getting into the back bumper of the number 14. Looks like the number 6 just got in the back of the 23 of Peterson right there going into turn number 4. So watching that transpire and saying that the number 6 got in the wall last time, it was interesting to see him right back up to the bumper of Peterson here. So they run Terrell, DeMerchant, Peterson, Ryan, and Major. These guys are oh so close to each other. There's not much room between any of these guys, not any room for error for a lot of these guys. So seeing Peterson have somebody all over the back bumper on him is not something you see very often, but Ryan was right there.
All over the lead down to turn number 3. Bobby Terrell's actually going to lose the position to set the Merchant. He was able to generate enough momentum that time on the back straightaway to just get underneath Bobby Terrell, and then by the time they got into turn 3, it was a done deal, and it looked like Terrell actually loses the 2nd spot.
And excuse my myself being on replay, but looks like I'm back on the action. But yeah, that was a done deal at that point, and so with him going down to the bottom now, let's see the speed that DeMerchant can have and see how quickly maybe Peterson can get by the number 14 to see if he can get around him to catch the teammate. Because I know Peterson's fast and I know DeMerchant's fast, but I don't know which one of them's faster. I think Terrell is right in the middle of that, quite literally now as well. But now DeMerchant's actually kind of storming off a little bit. Maybe he's conserving his tires, waiting for that moment so he could pull away. We'll just have to see here as now the 23 has to fight the 14, and Ryan's right there behind him as well. And looking at a battle outside this top 4, Kyle Major has the number 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. all over his back bumper. Both of them driving, I believe, Gordon-inspired paint schemes, Jeff Gordon paint scheme that is, as they come down the front straightaway.
Yeah, you actually saw Kyle Major in the 25 throwing a block on Michael Atkins last time around on the back stretch, which I don't think Michael Atkins was too fond of that. But these guys have actually lost sight of the leaders relative car limits between each of them, because Michael Atkins actually looking low that time on the Kyle Major truck, not able to make a pass happen as they exit turn number 2. Christian Peterson looking to make a pass for 2nd on Bobby Terrell. I don't think he's going to have enough momentum as they head down the back straightaway. And then about Tommy Ryan right in 4th, kind of in the middle of all this action. It hasn't really played too much of a factor in deciding who's going to win the race or deciding what's going to happen between 4th and 5th, or 5th and 6th rather. So Ryan just kind of sitting in the middle, minding his own business, waiting for something to happen and waiting to take advantage of an opportunity.
Well, I think it's madly important that these guys think about pit stops and the fact that the race is, mostly won on the track, but I think this race is really going to be won on pit road if we continue to go green the rest of the way, because they almost have to make a pit stop here before this one's all over. And with these guys battling it out, it's I think it's good to try and get as far ahead as you can, but getting that pit stop done and how you feel it's going to be the best is something you should think about right now. And DeMerchant, what he needs to do is trying to get out as far away as possible. That's his objective, as we got a battle for 2nd. Looks like Christian Peterson is thinking to himself, well, I need to be in front of the 14 truck so I can at least not lose that much speed 14 truck of Terrell. He's going to concede that position, so it's the two P-Money design drivers in first and second now. Looks like Major's going to still be in fifth, so P-Money 6-Man Inc. is now on the top 5. And the battle for third will start with Terrell and Tommy Ryan. Watching those two, you've also got to think to yourself, well, these guys are probably thinking about pit stops as well, but they can't lose too much time on the track either. Each little bit is going to matter as he tucks Terrell into the outside wall. He pushes him too much going into the corner and did not allow an error to happen for Terrell. Terrell got off the gas to make the corner, and the 6 of Tommy Ryan did not, pushes him straight to the outside wall.
Yeah, that's going to cost these guys a lot. That was a hard hit for both the 14 and 6. Actually, Bobby Terrell, unfortunately, I think he got the worst end of it. And that 14 truck, I wouldn't be surprised to see him down on a little bit of the speed compared to Kyle Manger and Michael Atkins and Jamie Walker. Those 3 trucks are barreling down the back bumper of those 2. So, tough break right there for Bobby Terrell as he, I don't want to say gets put into the outside wall, but, I mean, there was no let up there from Tommy Ryan. So now you got Kyle Manger, Jamie Walker, past for 6 on Michael Atkins. All those guys are going to take advantage of what just happened on the last lap going into turn 1.
Here comes Tommy Ryan to the bottom of the track, and if I was the 14, I would not give anything to the 6 right here, just because the reason he's passing him is because of the damage that the 14 has sustained off of that. So, really, I think if you're Bobby Terrell, this is one of those races you may not be able to really do anything about. You're going to probably fall pretty hard because of the damage that these trucks, we talked about it earlier, the damage you get here is going to really hurt you. As you see, the 25 of Manger's already making his way to the inside of him, trying to make a pass happen, and both these drivers, the 2 and the 88, or the 25 and the 88, they're going to be considerably faster right now just because 14's got damage. So the 14's is going to drop like crazy right now, and so here comes Michael Atkins Jr. coming to the inside now off of turn number 4. It's a hopeless game right here. I mean, if you ever run Indianapolis, you got damage in an official series in the league, you just know that you are absolutely helpless with that damage.
Yeah, and how about, if you want to know how bad the damage is for Bobby Terrell, he was 3rd last time when they crossed the strike, this time all the way back in 7th. And he also lost a lot of time track position-wise compared to the leader. And if you're looking at the damage on the 14, he's got the damage on the right side where he hit the outside wall. He also got damage on the left rear where he got put into the outside wall, so that truck's all sorts of beat up right now. It's a tough break for Bobby Terrell. However, that's going to be an advantage for Michael Atkins, who moves into 6th. Jamie Walker moves into 5th. Kyle Major moves into 4th, and you got Tommy Ryan still running 3rd. Top 2, though, the P-Money trucks of Seth the Merchant and Christian Peterson in turn 3.
They've got 1.8 seconds on Tommy Ryan, who may also have a little bit of damage on that right side. I can't tell from what I'm looking at right now, but with those guys being as fast as they are, they're probably going to fight a little bit until it gets close to pit stops, and I bet you that they'll pit together, putting pressure on each other, and right at this point, they've already basically won if they can continue to keep pushing at this rate, going down into turn number 1 and 2. Christian Peterson appears to have the advantage of speed by a good margin, but we saw how difficult it was to pass as we were coming to 20 laps to go this next time by. Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant. Those two guys now on the backstretch, and it's not until now that Tommy Ryan has finally made it there. And look at Jamie Walker. He is on the inside of the 25 of Kyle Major. I don't think he's going to be able to keep that nose in between now and turn number 3.
Yeah, and I figured it would only be a matter of time until we saw Jamie Walker making this pass and Kyle Major losing this track position. So Major now loses 4th. I think he's going to lose 5th too to Michael Atkins Jr. So if you ask me, now that Michael Atkins has moved up into 5th, the strongest 5 trucks in the race, in my opinion, are the top 5 trucks right now. You got Seth the Merchant, all-out powerhouse. So is Christian Peterson, the 23. You got Tommy Ryan, who has not left the top 5 today. Matter of fact, he qualified 2nd. He's running 3rd. Jamie Walker, the guy who was dominating the first half of the race, who's running 4th. And then Michael Atkins Jr., the guy who came all the way back from 20th inside the top 5 and 5th. So top 5 trucks showing a lot of speed, a lot of talent, too, amongst those 5 drivers.
And as this kind of starts to simmer down a little bit, all the action, we'll keep an eye on the 14 of Bobby Terrell because his damage is so bad that Aaron Bennett's probably going to catch him here shortly. Remember, he was 2.2 seconds off the pace after the damage had been incurred. And then now he's 4.4 seconds back and going to continue to lose position. So we'll monitor that. We'll also monitor when these guys come down pit road because I'm almost 100% sure that these guys have to come down for stops. Oh, some are coming down right now. Kyle Major actually passes the two of Michael Atkins Jr. to get down pit road. That was impressive. Michael Atkins Jr. was much on the reserve, and Kyle Major just decided, I'm going to pass you. So that definitely happened. And so with them coming down pit road, this is where it starts. This is the most important stop of the race.
Yeah, Atkins coming into his box right now in the number 2 truck. Looks like he's able to stop perfectly. Aaron Bennett also in the number, sorry about that. Aaron Bennett actually driving the number, looking for it, number 3 truck tonight. And those guys are coming down on the pit road. Up front, though, the Merchant and Christian Peterson still on the racetrack. And those guys are running 1-2. Tommy Ryan, Jamie Walker, and now moved Bobby Terrell back into 5th in the 14 truck. Rough couple of laps for him, but I guess you can qualify that as a roller coaster ride because he's been up from 3rd, 2nd. Looks like Jamie Walker now, the 88 truck, he's coming down pit road, and he's bringing in Bobby Terrell. You also got the 12 truck of Greg Maul. I think Bob Gillenwater's in, so is the 64 truck, or 68, sorry, of Scott Simley. A lot of drivers in pit road right now.
And if you're the leaders, this is the best thing you want to see is drivers pitting while you're leading, and at any moment, if a caution comes out there in the most opportune moment that they can be. But at the same time, these guys are having a lot of fun up here towards the front. They're still going nose to tail on the back straightaway right now. DeMerchant being right in that position he may not want to be.
Jamie Walker overshot his pit box just a little bit again. Had to back it up and throw it in reverse one more time. I think he's had to do that almost every caution so far.
Yeah, this one's under green flag conditions, and so it's going to hurt him even that much more. So looks like Christian Peterson and DeMerchant are going to come down pit road. DeMerchant's going to be a little bit more gutsy as he normally is. But with that may complete all pit roads. Well, we'll have to see with Randy Tesser and some other guys come in, but that basically completes pit road right now. Yeah, it looks like Randy Tesser is going to stay out, and he will lead the drivers right now. So number 69 will inherit the lead after these pit stops, but he still has to come in. He still has to make his stop. Unless he's done some Houdini magic trick to get more fuel in that truck, I don't think this truck's gonna be able to make it. But it's a good strategy if a caution comes out, and be well worth it, I think, for him.
Luckily for the Merchant, Peterson, and Tommy Ryan, I didn't see any issue for these guys getting into their pit box. Matter of fact, Tommy Ryan might even have an advantage, but it looks like Seth the Merchant's going to come out first. Peterson right behind him on his back bumper. Tommy Ryan actually lost a little bit of time on those 2 drivers in front of him, so the Merchant should be your leader once this all cycles through, I think.
And here comes Tim Matthews on the outside, actually. He pit a bit earlier. Remember, these guys have to take both inner loops in turns 1 and 2. If you don't, you'll get penalized. And so DeMerchant is very close. I think he was very close to hitting that line, actually. And he may have actually went over it, but just really close. But Randy Tessar, he's going to come into pit road here as these drivers are all clumped together here in turns number 3. Drivers with old, drivers with new tires, all mixed up together here. This is going to be really fun to watch here as it looks like it's going to be led by Tim Matthews. Number 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. is coming down to the very bottom of the track, and this is, I believe, a battle for the lead.
Yeah, that's a battle for the top spot. Matthews now going to lose the lead over to the 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. Everybody else just came down pit road finally. Randy Tessar actually brought in 2 more trucks with him to move Atkins into the top spot, the Merchant into 2nd, now move Kyle Major into 3rd, so a little bit different order of the guys who are running inside the top 6 just a couple of laps ago, but this time the leader is going to be Michael Atkins Jr. in the number 2 truck. How long will it last, though, because here comes Seth the Merchant down low in the 57.
The Merchant showing the nose. I don't think he has it quite yet, but he makes the 2 think he does, and that's going to be enough to keep the Merchant on the bottom. 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. gives up that position, and then Kyle Major is behind both these drivers. This is a huge advantage for the number 57 of DeMerchant because there's so much space between him and Christian Peterson, who was the last driver, or these 2 were the last drivers in this pack to make pit stops, and so the difference between these 2 guys who just came down pit road who came down last is going to be 1 second. That's a big difference on pit road coming in. I think you have to give it to the guts of DeMerchant to basically wait as long as he could to get on the brakes and an astounding job by him. And the two guys in between them right now, the two Jeff Gordon-inspired truck schemes between Michael Atkins Jr. and Kyle Manger, they did a great job, I think, to pit just a little earlier and try and get in front of these guys, because we saw how difficult it was to pass a driver with old tires, that guy being Seth the Merchant. And so right now they're sitting second and third. I think they're going to have a good shot at making to the end where they are, or pretty close to it.
Yeah, well, I see 3 trucks in the field with P-Money Designs on their truck, and that's the Merchant running first, Kyle Manger running third, and then Christian Peterson running fourth. So if you ask me, P-Money Designs definitely getting their brand marketed as best as they could. 3 trucks inside the top 4 alone. Running out your top 5, by the way, is, oh yeah, Jamie Walker in the 88, who's had one of the fastest trucks tonight. Came from the back of the field for, I think, what, the 2nd time tonight? So we're going to have to keep an eye on the 88, because he's moved inside the top 5, and I don't think he's done just yet. He's gaining on Christian Peterson, who's actually making a pass on Kyle Manger as they head down the back straightaway. That's going to be the battle for 3rd. Michael Atkins holding on to 2nd, and right behind those 2 drivers, one side by side into turn 3, is going to be Jamie Walker, as it looks like Christian Peterson is able to take away 3rd. So now Jamie Walker looking to take away 4th from Kyle Manger as they enter turn number 4.
That's definitely correct, and with Jamie Walker being right there in the clutches, he is the driver leading Young Guns Motorsports, which is interesting. It's basically P-Money Design, Six Man Inc. versus Young Guns right now, and it's really fun to see, because sometimes the Young Guns, which some of them aren't so young, but they're called the Young Guns, and they are it's basically them versus P-Money right now, Six Man Inc. They go by either name really, but Six Man Inc. and Young Guns, they've been really competitive this season. Not for official points, but definitely it's been fun to watch these drivers battle it out. And so, saying 2 battles for 4 drivers battle for 2 positions here. Number 88's on the outside of the 25, and Peterson's going down to the bottom of the 2. That's going to wrap that one up fairly quickly, but Jamie Walker's going to have to give up that position or give up that amount of steam away for the time being. Looks like he's going to try and get back to it right out of turn 4. He's got the momentum here. He's going to go jump down to the bottom. I don't think he's going to have it quite yet. He's going to show the nose as if he has it, but 25 either calls his bluff or not, and he's going to call it. So 25 is not going to be able to, he's not going to lose that position quite yet, and Jamie Walker's going to have to get a lot more momentum here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jamie Walker's been pretty aggressive on the back bumper of Kyle Manger. Look at that, Manger throws a block before they even get to turn 2, and I think that's actually going to generate a lot of momentum for Jamie Walker, rather. But then what we've seen all night is when 2 trucks start kind of blocking back and forth with each other, all it does is create a huge hole in the air, which allows the 3rd truck behind him to catch up. In this instance, it was Tommy Ryan in the 6th, who was like a half-second back of this whole battle. Now all of a sudden he's on the back bumper of Jamie Walker trying to make his way back inside the top 5. But for right now, Seth the Merchant's able to stretch his lead out to over a 2nd advantage over Christian Peterson in 2nd place. And then you got Michael Atkins running 3rd. 4th has kind of been up for grabs between Kyle Manger and Jamie Walker. So right now, the back bumper of Jamie Walker is occupied by the 6th Tommy Ryan as they hit the stripe. 12 laps to go here at Indianapolis. Not Indianapolis, Illinois. Indianapolis, Indiana.
I'm not gonna have some people giving me angry messages later, I feel, for that one, but that's not the first hiccup we've had. But right now, looks like Tommy Ryan hit the outside wall, and then Jamie Walker is going to go on the inside of the 25 of Kyle Manger. Remember, Jamie Walker would pit later on 25, and so that's why you're seeing this battle happen. Manger's going to have to give that position up here to the Young Gun Motorsports driver, Jamie Walker, and then the 6 is going to try and do the same thing. He goes down and straight to the bottom. This might be 2 positions lost for the 25 if he can't help it, and it looks like he cannot. The 6 had to take it. But right there, he's going to get that. That's a 2-swinger for the number 25 of Kyle Manger. He's going to have to lose those positions, which is not good, but it might be one of the last ones he loses, because it's another few tenths of a second between him and Aaron Bennett. So we are at the 10 laps to go mark this next time by. It's going to be pretty much a Seth the Merchant win unless he makes mistakes. It does look like Christian Peterson is catching him pretty consistently. I just don't think he's going to be able to make the pass to win. It's going to be a little too late, but between those 2 drivers, and then still a lot of other battles up for contests. And so number 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. is going to have to fend off Jamie Walker. As though all those drivers behind him that are tailing off just a little bit. Here coming out of turn number 4. 10 laps to go this time by.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sound like Mr. Know-It-All, but I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm kind of kicking myself right now because I think it was like lap 10, and I thought to myself, I said, okay, Seth the Merchant, Christian Peterson, Michael Atkins Jr., Jamie Walker, and Tommy Ryan, those 5 trucks, those are definitely going to end up being the top 5. I didn't know what order, but I knew those 5 trucks were going to be in the top 5. And here we go with 10 laps to go. That is your top 5. And I wish I would have wrote it in the chat or someplace so that nobody thinks I'm lying to you right now. But Jamie Walker all over the back bumper. Michael Atkins Jr., that's the battle for 3rd. And if you ask me, Jamie Walker might have the fastest truck on the track. Oh, look at that move. Little crossover action going on between the 2 drivers. And still Walker's not even able to get by Michael Atkins Jr. Jr. is actually going to hold on to that spot as they enter turn number 3. But yeah, a lot of back and forth racing for the 3rd place position between Michael Atkins Jr. and Jamie Walker as they enter turn number 4. Here comes Tommy Ryan in the 6 truck also.
That didn't look very pretty, but that was fun to watch. I mean, they scrubbed off more speed than they did getting an advantage from each other. That was really interesting. But yeah, that brings Tommy Ryan to kind of break your top 5 mold that you should have brought, or you should have wrote down earlier. And with Tommy being right there, that really puts the pressure on the 88 to not make a mistake when he really goes for it. But that just shows that the 2 is not willing to let this position go. And Jamie Walker has no... Oh my gosh, he is absolutely right there. There's no room between those 2 drivers. And I don't think anyone really gets an advantage on another. They're coming out of turn number 2, so with the laps winding down, this is definitely the battle to watch right here as they come into turn number 3.
Yeah, the battle for 3rd is getting crazy between 3 different drivers. Up front, though, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Christian Peterson is actually reeling in Seth the Merchant, whether it's a 10th lap or not. He's still reeling him in, and if he keeps it up at a 10th lap, he'll be there right before the race is over. And these guys are like a 3-car train, nose to tail in the exit of turn 4 right now. This time, Tommy Ryan's getting the push to Jamie Walker, which is allowing him to get the nose underneath Michael Atkins. So here we go side by side. Now down into turn number 1. Jamie Walker on the bottom. Top side is going to Michael Atkins Jr. They almost make contact as they exit turn number 2. No place for Tommy Ryan to go. They're still neck and neck as they exit turn number 2.
Oh, these drivers are oh so close. But this is what Tommy Ryan wanted to see. He wanted to push the 88 so that he would go into battle and maybe wear their tires out a little bit more. Only thing is, neither of them had the momentum that the 2 had. But the 88 still has the nose in on the 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. He's going to keep him on the outside, keep him a little honest here. And so with the 88 going to the very bottom, he might have some room to take advantage of it here.
Tommy Ryan's gonna get a run right here.
He's gonna get a run here. I don't know if he's gonna take him 3 wide. Is there a little bit of contact between the 88 and the 2? And he's thinking about it. He went to the outside or the inside just for a little bit, but he's actually gonna push the 88, and that's not what Michael Atkins wants to say. He's thinking, push me, I wanna get there. But 6 laps remaining, and this is getting oh so intense. And we're giving a monitor on those front 2 drivers as well, but this battle is one that we cannot keep our eyes away from. As oh, there goes the 6 down to the bottom underneath the 2 here, and he's got a plenty amount of momentum, but nothing he can do with the 88 in front of him. Jamie Walker finally gets clear, but it looks like the 2 is going to be barely on his outside. So these 3 drivers, much fun as this is, actually bringing Kyle Major a little bit back in the picture, but I think it's a little too late for that. So they go back into turn 3. We'll see what these guys do this time around. Tommy Ryan's going to still stay on the bottom. There goes Jamie. I think this is going to be a done deal for him. He might be able to secure that spot, and so Tommy Ryan's going to have to fight real hard for this one. And they make a little contact in the corner, and I think that just about does it for those 2 right there.
Yeah, that's going to give Tommy Ryan the sole possession of 4th place and move Michael Atkins back to 5th. I think he was fighting as hard as he wanted to for 3rd place and not letting up at all. They got 6 laps to go here at Indianapolis, and it's Christian Peterson, 2 laps to go, gained 2 tenths on the leader. The last lap gained a whole 10th on the leader, so he's about a half second back as they enter onto the back straightaway. And I think we might have a battle for the lead. Actually, it's going to be a battle for the win by the time they get to maybe lap 79. So with 2 to go, these guys are going to be beating off of beating and banging as they get down to business.
Going through turns 1 and 2, or 3 and 4, Seth the Merchant is starting to lose a little bit of time to Christian Peterson, but I think it is a sizable lead, but it is coming down fairly quickly. And with these 2 right now, Christian Peterson is starting to catch Merchant just ever so slowly, but I think he'll be there. I don't know if he's going to be able to make that pass here, Jacob, as they come through turn number 1.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye out front on the leaders. Christian Peterson keeps on reeling in Seth the Merchant for the top spot. Now he's under a half second back from the leader of Seth the Merchant. So these guys are really Christian Peterson really starting to reel in Seth the Merchant for the top spot. And Jamie Walker now under attack from Tommy Ryan for third. Up front though, when the Merchant hits the stripe, he's going to have 4 laps left.
Yeah, you mentioned it between those two. Jamie is starting to lose a little bit of time to Tommy. It's going to be the same story between these two and the front two, is that you'll be able to catch them, but what can you do to pass them? That's one of the biggest things about this track and it kind of has made it really exciting tonight. It's really hit or miss between for these trucks and any of the NASCAR stock cars. Is that this can be a hit or miss race with how the racing action goes tonight. It has not disappointed in a lot of ways, and so with these two up front, these two for third, basically determines who your winner is and who your final podium finisher is going to be tonight. But I don't think Peterson is going to be able to catch the Merchant as quickly as I think he should, with only being about 0.25 seconds quicker that last time. Christian Peterson basically had draft to help him out, and so watching these two go through the corners, watching them go through turns 3, and then coming into turn number 4 here, going to be one of those things where it's very specific little movements in that truck that may give you the small advantage, and using that momentum that Peterson gets out of the corners and then the draft along with it to continue to make just little advances on him. He gets an entire 10th that last time by, 3 laps to go.
Yeah, in my short time with this series, what I've noticed is the Merchant seems to be the driver who runs up front during the race, but it always seems like Christian Peterson finds a way to capture the victory, and I think it's almost like the same story's being written right now. The Merchant into the outside wall. I think Peterson actually might have followed him up there a little bit too. So these guys are really now banging on the outside wall, and in a couple laps here, they might be banging for the lead because you got the Merchant and Christian Peterson, and they're going to be bumper to bumper when they go through turn number 3 and 4 here in just a few laps. When they hit the stripe, they're going to get 2 to go. Seth the Merchant still leading out front.
And the thing about Peterson not hitting the wall as hard as the Merchant is the Merchant, I think, has some right rear damage, and I think that's going to be his downfall. The Merchant now has right rear damage. It's going to slow him down. It's basically going to act as a parachute, and he's got to deal with that for 2 more laps. 2 laps to go here this time by, and I think Peterson's got a really good shot at taking advantage of that. And perhaps the Merchant had some kind of plan behind at least getting really close to the wall, but right now I think the Merchant's doing a last-ditch effort coming out of turn number 2. With Peterson being very close. He took the curb basically all the way to the grass with that left front, and very close, and this will be it here. That's the next time by, coming through turn number 3 and eventually to turn number 4. How close will Peterson get to him in these corners, and how will he make the pass if he's able to make it here with 1 lap to go, coming this time by as they come through turn number 4?
The best bet for Christian Peterson to generate a run is he's got to be higher up on the racetrack when he gets into the corner, and then hit the apex at the perfect time to generate a huge run off the corner. And we're going to have to see how it works out for him through turns 1 and 2 this time around. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go for Seth the Merchant. Is he going to be able to hang on for the win? And here he goes, Christian Peterson looking high. I don't know if that's going to be the advantage that he needs. On the exit of turn number 1, almost gets into the outside wall. This time down through turn number 2, it looks like it cost Christian Peterson a little bit of track time compared to Seth the Merchant. But how hard or how fast will he be able to climb back up there and challenge for the lead?
Final time down the backstretch at the Brickyard Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and with Christian Peterson going real high into turn number 1, he's going to have to really sling this one into turn number 4. If he's not able to get the momentum he needs, this is going to be the race for Christian Peterson. So coming out of turn number 4, the Merchant has the lead. Christian Peterson looks to the bottom. He's got the momentum to make it happen, but not enough. It is going to be Seth the Merchant coming to the start-finish line first tonight to grab the checkered flag. Seth the Merchant wins here at Indianapolis.
Yeah, Christian Peterson gave it all he got. Seth the Merchant putting on a drift show through turn number 1 right now.
That's pretty typical, actually.
Christian Peterson made a last-ditch effort through turn number 4. Drove it in as hard as he could. Unfortunately, just didn't have the speed he needed off of exit to try to make a pass for the win. Nonetheless, though, Seth the Merchant ends the race and ends up in victory lane in that number 57 truck.
Well done by Seth the Merchant and Christian Peterson. Definitely gave us a good show. And the difference between Tommy Ryan and Michael Atkins, well, actually, something must have happened to Jamie Walker. He was in third. We had such a good battle for the lead. We'd missed the battle for third. Something happened to Jamie Walker, and I'm not exactly sure what that was. So we'll definitely take a look and see what happened. So we'll see what happens, and we'll go through your full field rundown as see what your favorite drivers finished here in just a moment. Or actually, right now is Seth the Merchant. He finishes the race, the winner. He wins tonight's race. Christian Peterson, he finishes second. Tommy Ryan third. Michael Atkins Jr. finishes fourth. And then Kyle Major finishes in the fifth position. Greg Mall would finish sixth place. Aaron Bennett seventh. Robert Youngwater eighth. Scott Simley ninth. And Jamie Walker 10th. As looks like the number 57 is burning it down on the front straightaway.
Yeah, we saw Jamie Walker actually in that last lap there. He got hung up on the outside wall and went from running third on the final lap to actually finishing the race in 10th. So, tough break for the 88 truck there. But the Merchant burning it down on the front straightaway. Some donuts, some burnouts. 57 of Seth the Merchant gets another victory here.
And you see the rest of your remaining drivers on the screen with Racer Terrell, Dunn, Warren, Matthews. That's your top 15. Randy Tesser, Wilco, Mara, and that was everyone finishing on the lead lap. And then everyone else was very far, pretty much wrecked at that point. Steve Herring, Jeff Ryan, 19th and 20th. And then you've got Forsta, Formosa, Jetty, and Yoakum finishing out 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. So at this point tonight in this, when we close out the regular season, we'll talk to your top three drivers, Seth the Merchant, Christian Peterson, and Tommy Ryan, right after this.
actually, really enjoy dirt racing. Feels good to get in the car, and we have, great cars and engines and things at KKR, so it's nice to drive a fast sprint car.
Couple of separate lines developing, three wide action on a turn two. Craig Kitzer, Casey Kane, and Garrett Pittman going at it.
I think the differences between, NASCAR and the sprint races on dirt is just a much different mindset. The way you drive your cars, the setup, the feel you're looking for. I think one of the hardest things to tell as a fan is when you're watching a race, whether it's a NASCAR race, a dirt race, is just what's really going on in the car. With iRacing, you can get the way that the track's changing, which they've done a great job in how the track changes throughout the night or throughout the race, just to try to capture it and let the fans play it and realize, like, man, there's actually a lot going on, and you can't always see that when you watch a race. So I think it's pretty neat. It's, enjoyable for me, but at the end of the day, it's actually much of a simulation, and there's a lot of ways that you can learn from that. And, early on, it was neat to look at the Cup tracks that I was going to, places that I had never been. So I think it kind of gives you a head start leading into a weekend. It's pretty real life, and that's pretty neat.
Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as we are going to catch up with winner Seth the Merchant. Seth, you did a masterful job of getting to the front where it was most needed, and got a little bit of luck at the after the first caution. But Seth, congratulations on your win going into the playoffs, really, or the chase, whatever you what have you. This is going to be a big momentum boost for you going into that.
Yeah, it definitely helps after my big screw up last week. Really glad I could win here at Indy, and that was a lot of fun racing Christian there at the end.
And talk about the battle between you guys. That was a lot of fun to watch, but you both hit the wall pretty significantly with about 3 laps to go, and you had more damage than he did, and he made a mistake going into turn 1 on the final lap. If that had not happened, it was going to be close between you two. Do you think that was the deciding factor was the damage, and then possibly that turn 1 move?
I think the damage wasn't that bad because it was on the right rear, but definitely if he would have missed turn 1 there, we would have been side by side going down the backstretch into 3, and probably would have had a photo finish, but he missed his entry, and we got away from him.
Well, Seth, you did a masterful job as always getting to the front. Before we let you go, as always, who makes it happen for you?
Just gotta thank P Money Designs as always for painting all the cars, and all the guys at 6 Minute.
Right, there you have it. Christian Peterson wins tonight's race, gets some momentum before the chase starts for these guys, and points get reset.
Yeah, it was a good race for the Merchant. Also a good race for his teammate, Christian Peterson. He got a chance to catch up with him. Peterson brought it home second tonight. Saw you make that last-ditch effort to return 4 there at the end. Kind of talk us through your race.
Yeah, last-ditch effort for sure. I screwed up pretty bad going into 1. And Seth, we talked about it after, and Seth said he was going to give me room, but I was going to try to do a little over-under in 1, and try to get under him going into 2, but that didn't work out. I totally just missed the corner, but, things happen, and, overall it was fun. Like, we had the cautions that were able to break up the race a little bit, but it was nice that, we got at least 10, 12 laps in each time, it seemed like, so... that was pretty good, but the one green flag pit stop at the end was a lot of fun, and Seth got out to a good lead, and I was trying to track him down. And I wish I could have got to him maybe 3 to go instead of maybe 1 to go or whatever, 2.5 to go or whatever the heck it was. But yeah, I don't know, maybe, but yeah, he did a good job, so congrats to him.
Yeah, and it was an exciting race like you were talking about there. Cautions played out quite nicely. Is there anybody you want to mention and give a shout out to for this race and for this team effort?
Just everybody at six-man race cars and Vincier, Team Vincier, and everybody in the booth, and Aaron and everybody at United Sim Racing for putting it on.
All right, man. Congrats on the second place finish, and thank you for taking some time to talk with us here in the booth. And Austin, looks like we're wrapping up tonight. It was quite the race at Indianapolis. Obviously Indiana, not Illinois, but yeah, quite the race.
Yeah, I'm not actually quite sure why I said Illinois, because it's clearly I-N, not I-L, so I'll have to figure out what my brain thought of it that way. But yeah, it was a great race tonight, and one of the deciding factors, of course, were the cautions tonight and where they fell. It really played in the hands of guys like DeMerchant and Peterson. And Ryan was up there basically all night. We would have talked to him, but it looked like he could not make it to for questions and to talk to him. But yeah, for him to be basically in the top 3 all day, only lost 1 spot. It was a pretty dang good day for him, especially since he had a couple instances where he didn't get the cautions delay where he wanted to, and Michael Atkins Jr. did a good job as well to hang on to 4th place. So for everyone tonight, thank you for everyone keep staying here, listening and watching and thanks for your support of LSRTV. To keep up on all live sim racing stuff, you can go to livesimracing.com to keep up to date with everything with us. You can look at our schedule. Looks like we're not back on until we're tomorrow with the American Pool Supply Truck Series, and then Monday we've got RSR back in full swing, and we've got the Cars Tour starting up on next Wednesday. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. The Esport Tour is back in full swing, and then as always we'll have the Super Speedway Cup Series on Friday. So from all of us in the booth, I'm Austin Coop, he's Jacob Bell, and Reddy Chenoweth, and that'll be it for us. We will see you at the next track with the start of the chase with the BNC Lawn Landscaping Truck Series. Good night.